Each rank of the social hierarchy has its idiosyncrasies. For example, alphas often act like buffoons, and deltas tend to crack terrible jokes. Similarly, sigmas have their peculiarities, and some people find them weird or incomprehensible. So in this video, we'll shed some light on these quirks. We'll look at 10 crazy things that sigma males do. If you're a sigma yourself, or if you know a sigma in your personal life, you'll probably recognize some of these behaviors. Welcome to the Sibros channel. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate. Here are 10 crazy things that sigma males do. 1. He might quit his job without warning. Sigma males make good employees. They benefit the team because sigmas have high intelligence and a strong work ethic. Plus, most sigmas have a creative streak that makes them good problem solvers. So many businesses rely on their sigma employees and promote them into positions of power. Unfortunately, a sigma can be unreliable because typical work environments annoy him. If he reaches breaking point, he may pack up his stuff and quit his job without warning. Often, a sigma won't even tell anybody that he's leaving, he just vanishes and stops coming to work. Of course, everybody wonders where he went, and often, many months later, they find out that he started his own company. Many small business owners are, in fact, sigma males. 2. He enjoys making eye contact with people. The sigma male, unafraid of confrontation, enjoys making eye contact with people, even strangers. He might just be walking down the street, nevertheless, he'll look everybody in the eye, never averting his gaze. But he doesn't do this aggressively, he's just observing his environment. And since most people avoid making eye contact, they don't even notice him watching. Occasionally, an alpha takes the eye contact as some kind of challenge, but the sigma diffuses the situation with a simple nod of the head. Don't forget that an alpha cares deeply about respect, and so a simple acknowledgement of his status normally calms him down. 3. He'll remain silent and won't care. The sigma doesn't care about the social hierarchy. For this reason, when everybody around him engages in small talk, the sigma just grunts or remains silent. When a group of people discuss a topic that sigma finds boring, such as the weather or some trivial detail about a person's life, he just keeps his mouth shut. Awkward silences bother some people, but they don't bother the sigma at all. He couldn't care less if you think he's weird. Sometimes people confuse his silence with a type of social anxiety or shyness. They assume that speaking in groups makes him feel anxious. But of course, this is false. Sigmas cannot feel social anxiety because they don't care what people think. His silence just means that he finds the conversation boring. 4. He probably keeps a journal. Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Most sigmas would agree since they analyze both themselves and the world around them. For this reason, I suspect that most sigmas keep a journal of some sort. When we think of keeping a journal or a diary, we think of young children writing about their social lives. But in the case of a sigma, he uses journals to analyze his actions and the effect they have on the world. I think many sigmas use journals to keep track of their goals and to analyze their successes and failures. But far from writing petty journal entries, his journal resembles the work of a natural scientist who analyzes cause and effect relationships. I also suspect that many sigmas stash their journals in a safe place so that nobody finds years of detailed notes documenting their secrets. 5. He rejoices when people cancel plans. An extrovert loves social occasions, so if his friends cancel their plans, he feels deflated and disappointed. After all, extroverts, such as alpha males, use social interaction to recharge their batteries. They feel re-energized after a night of drinking and talking. A cancellation hits them hard. In contrast, the sigma dislikes most social occasions. He normally attends them out of a sense of duty. Therefore, if out of nowhere, his friends suddenly cancel their plans, the sigma rejoices and happily spends his night alone. He didn't want to go to the social event, he was just trying to be polite. He'd rather read books or do something creative. 6. He can be blunt. Normally, during conversation, people worry about offending or causing pain. But sigmas don't care much about your feelings. Although a sigma remains calm and polite, if he finds himself around somebody who lies or exaggerates, sometimes the sigma calls the person out bluntly. Other people who witness the interaction feel uncomfortable because the confrontation shocks them. For example, if a sigma catches you lying, he might just point it out by saying something like, "Stop talking crap." The room will fall silent until somebody changes the topic. None of this bothers the sigma because confrontation doesn't faze him. And if a sigma dislikes somebody, normally a gamma male, he tells that person to leave. He'll say something like, "I don't want to be around this guy anymore. Get him out of here." 7. He wears earphones to avoid social interaction. Sigmas are creative people, so they usually love music. Many famous Sigmas have been legendary musicians, such as Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and Jimmy Page. So, if you see a Sigma wearing earphones, you might assume he's listening to music. But that's not necessarily the case. You see, Sigmas have realized that earphones make an excellent prop that allows them to avoid one of their most hated activities. Of course, I'm talking about small talk. A Sigma sometimes uses earphones to avoid small talk. When he wears earphones, people think that he's listening to music, so they don't talk to him. He avoids social interaction. You may find it strange, but a Sigma could be walking around with earphones on but no music playing. 8. He enjoys isolation. For most people, spending a long amount of time alone feels like a prison sentence. But a Sigma could spend weeks, months, or even years holed up in his apartment. Unlike most people, isolation doesn't drive him crazy or even hurt him psychologically. On the contrary, Sigmas love solitude and dreams of disappearing from the world with a massive stack of books. For a Sigma, that sounds like heaven. His friends might think he's crazy, but Sigma regularly finds excuses to be alone. 9. He observes people closely. We often say that Sigmas don't care about the social hierarchy, and this is 100% true. But strangely, Sigmas have an intense interest in human beings. They love observing people in their natural habitats. Sometimes this phenomenon is called people watching. In general, a Sigma watches those around him very closely, and sometimes people find it unnerving. If he's at a dinner party, for example, he will probably watch how everybody acts. He'll see subtleties that other people miss. He's not judging them, and he's not anxious or afraid of them. Rather, Sigmas are observant, and they enjoy watching how people react in different situations. Also, Sigmas remember everything. If he's watching you, you can be sure that he'll remember your words and actions. So, be on your best behavior around Sigmas. They don't forget. 10. He ignores phone calls. Unless it's an emergency or a business deal, Sigmas often avoid phone calls. Even calls from close family and friends. Sometimes, this avoidance causes tension because many people enjoy spending hours talking on the phone. They catch up with one another and chat about their lives. But, as you can imagine, the Sigma dislikes sitting on the phone for hours and discussing the trivial details of daily life. He's not being mean-spirited, he doesn't hate the caller. He just hates talking unless there's something important to say. That being said, Sigmas enjoy deep conversations. If he's passionate about the topic, a Sigma could talk on the phone for ages. It's theoretically possible. But in general, even with family and close friends, he'll avoid phone calls. And normally his inner circle have learned that lesson. They have learned to send emails or texts instead of picking up the phone.